What's going on, Charger fans? This is Kyle Cantania with the PowderKeg podcast, and we wanted to hit you with a quick shot on what is happening with after day one of the tampering period. Just a quick update on our salary cap and our projections for what's going forward. Really quick, guys. So, notable signings, cancellation chart. We know we've signed Gus Edwards, we've signed Will Dissly, and we've signed Alohi Gilman. As far as Gus will wipe out a 7th round pick that we would have gained from Austin Eckler. A lot of us already know that. Will doesn't affect the formula at all. An Alohi just makes it so that we have one less player leaving and potentially gaining us a comp pick, but he doesn't negatively affect us since we're retaining our own player. Kenneth Murray at 7.75 kind of changes things. All of a sudden, we have a 5th round potential compensatory pick that I don't think anyone really foresaw happening. So that's very interesting and might affect how Joe makes some decisions moving forward. In terms of 2024's cap, right now, we still need to open up about $44 million just to be able to sign our free agents, have an in-season budget, sign our draft picks, have an in-season budget, and fill out the rest of the roster. Right now, we need to get just a hair over 27 million, or right about 27 million. I have team cap space in there, but that also includes a 52nd and a 53rd player, which is not important for the compensatory pick. It's just our total cap space for what our projected total roster will be. But really, to get to compliance, we need 27 million. We can get there immediately by cutting Williams and restructuring Derwin. There actually might be a tiny bit left. We might need to get rid of one of our players on a reserve futures contract that's basically on the min just for a day or two while we figure out the rest of our moves. But that's still very easy. A Williams cut and Derwin restructure gets us there pretty much right away. And remember, it can't be a trade that gets us compliance. So you can't use Bosa or Mac or any of those avenues. We could do a Williams cut in a Keenan extension, but we can't do a Derwin restructure and Keenan extension because of these recent signings. That has now pushed us into a realm where Derwin might need to be restructured, Mike needs to be cut, or some more drastic measures are taken, like Mike gets cut, Bosa gets cut, that we can revisit re-signing Mike, something like that. But that's where we're at right now, guys. And then if they do decide to trade Khalil or Joey, that does really start opening things back up for us. But it doesn't look like we're going to have to get rid of both of them right now, which is really the big effect on how we've taken a very conservative approach in the early start of free agency. And unless we really go out and feel like we need to bring in some higher price point people, which it doesn't look like we do, might be those, whereas I thought both leaving the building. Kind of interesting. And part of that does go into Kenneth signing and getting a potential 5th, because now we might want to save that space, or not. We might want to not spend on a center that would have taken away that pick or something else, and instead go ahead and retain Mac, just potentially, for the end of the year if they were to choose to cut Bosa. So then Mac could get another 5th round pick next year when he walks. There's just a lot of moving parts there. So there is a little bit of an effect to Kenneth Murray signing as high of a deal as he did. So far, the effect on 2025's cap, if you factor in that Slater's going to get the 5th year option, which is just over 19 million, and project our 2024 draft class signings, because of how early we're picking so far, that first pick is almost a $10 million cap hit next year. So the draft signings actually do pretty heavily affect our cap space for next year. We are already in a spending power realm of just under 50 million. That doesn't include retaining Allen or potentially retaining Mike if they want, which I don't really see happening, but you never know. That doesn't include re-signing Asante Samuel, who, since he's shown he's got good coverage chops, right now I have him at 12 mil, but if he has another good year, he could be closer to that 15, 16, $17 million range, maybe even 20 by the time the market continues to move. If he doesn't present the same liability in run defense as he did in Staley's scheme in his first year in Minters, all of a sudden he could have a very high projection based on his ball skills. He's had an amazing playoff game where he had 3 interceptions, and he's done very well outside of that in pass coverage. So if all of a sudden the run liability isn't showing up all the time, sky's the limit for Zahn. So that's just a quick look. As you can see, our outgoing free agents can gain some serious draft capital. So it'll be very interesting to see how Joe balances that. Really quick, some of these are going to carry over because we should be filling a lot of holes that could allow players to walk. With the 3 players we've signed, we're still looking to bring in a backup running back. We still need a tight end, a really starting number 1 quality tight end, like a guy that can be a bigger threat in the passing game. So does this foreshadow that Bowers might be a guy that we look at now more heavily, more closely, or one of those later round guys that really has that fullback tight end potential? Because I don't know if Will really has time spent in the backfield, but that's another possibility as well. Somebody that is still a capable receiver, still a good run blocker, but we still need to find that guy that's going to be our every down, consistent, chain moving threat. Inside linebacker, no idea yet what they're going to do there. Henley should be considered should have consideration for a starting position, but we still need one more. I can't see Henley and Neiman both going out there because they have similar liabilities. Their depth of average depth of tackle is very high. We need somebody that can be a little bit more of a bruiser inside. We still need another starting cornerback. We still need a nickel. Center is a complete question mark right now, although there are some inexpensive options out there as Band-Aids if we do go with a later round, more developmental selection. So that could be interesting. And we still should get 2 starting caliber defensive tackles. Pretty much covered all this. Some of those guys might be that we just talked about filling holes in this starting roster. Could be 1-year guys that all of a sudden very quickly turn around and find themselves back in this cancellation chart benefiting us next year. That's important to consider because more than likely with how much budget we have, even if we keep Zont and keep Allen, that might be a net impact of around $25-30 million. Still have around $25-30 million to spend. So we could be looking for a couple extra guys to have on this cancellation chart that then make it so we can sign 1 or 2 compensatory free agents if we'd like, and still have a positive compensatory return come 2026. So that's just something to keep an eye on as well. Quick Q's and A's from what I saw on Twitter. Does Alohi staying affect our compensatory formula? Briefly covered this already, not directly. The only effect is that he no longer affects it, if that makes sense. Before, he was going to be somebody that potentially gained us a pick, but it's not like re-signing him or extending him is going to take away one of the picks that we would have gained by Kenneth Murray walking. That's not how it works. He's just removed from the chart altogether when he would have been somebody that brought us a pick, but now that he's gone from the chart, he doesn't cancel anything out. He doesn't gain us anything. He's just back on our roster. Thank goodness. That's a big starting hole filled and a great, great signing by Joe. Is Kenneth Murray locked in at 5th round compensation? No. If more deals come in, the way that this compensatory pick formula works is they just stack all of the APYs, and it's not from the current signings, it's from the whole league, and then they have different thresholds. I think it's top 5% are what get the 3rd round picks, and then it just works its way down each round with different percentage thresholds. So I forget off the top of my head what percentage bracket it is for 5th and 6th, but if more 1-year deals, 2-year deals, or any sort of deals with higher APYs than what Kenneth is locked in at right now, 7.75, that can slowly push him down and potentially bump him into 6th round territory. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. If that happens, does that affect Joe's plan? I don't really think so. If we what's going to be interesting is looking at what Everett does. Let's take a look at that one more time. What Everett does if he signs for 5 or 6 and then all of a sudden is in 6th round territory. If one of these guys, Austin Johnson, signed a decent deal with us, if somebody kind of signs him on a projection of what he could have been and blames Brandon Staley's scheme on him not succeeding, maybe he gets us a 7th round again. And all of a sudden we have a couple more chips that we're playing with and can try to sign a compensatory guy or a compensatory free agent or two. It's kind of interesting, but as of right now, having a projection of around a 5th and a 7th is pretty decent. If we were to up that to a 5th, 6th, and 7th or something like that, Joe's probably going to be very mindful of bringing on any more compensatory free agents, because 3 extra picks next year would be great. That'd be a boon for him. What happens if we don't reach compliance? I got a couple questions asking this. That's just not a thing that's really happened. There have been teams that have been caught trying to circumvent the cap with some sort of shady deals. If teams get caught avoiding the salary cap or trying to break the rules within the salary cap, is the only thing I've really seen that we could use as an example. There have been fines and draft compensation lost, like other rule breaches we've seen in the past. So it's not going to happen. Wouldn't expect it. Wouldn't even consider that happening, but that is how they treat that when teams break the rules of the cap. Can we go back over the cap after compliance? I've seen this one. This is a really good question because it's twofold. Number one, no, not with a signing. The league has to approve all contracts. So when you basically let the league know we have this player that we've signed, that we've acquired, they will cross-reference your cap, make sure that you've structured it in a way that complies, and only then will they approve it. If you are over the cap because of that contract, you're going to need to show them immediately what you're doing to get back under the cap. It might be restructuring somebody immediately if you have a unilateral ability to do that with a contract on your roster. It could be releasing somebody because the league isn't projecting your roster from when you have a full 53 man or when you are with your signings from draft picks and whatnot. They only care about the now. So you could immediately get rid of a contract, one of the, bottom 5 contracts that have no guaranteed money if you just need a day or two to buy yourself some time. That's an option to you. Or like we said, just a restructure. Now, it's different if a trade or a cut results in accelerated dead cap pushing you over the limit. An example of that is like with Russ, like all of his dead cap accelerated and his guaranteed money for multiple years, accelerated into this year, $83 million, I think. If that happened after compliance and all of a sudden the Broncos were like $50 million in the red because of that insane amount of dead money, probably would have been more realistic if it was a trade or something like that caused that, but then it might have been less because it would have been guaranteed salary that was not being accelerated anymore. That's a whole other deal. If a trade or a cut resulted in accelerated dead cap pushing you over the limit, you would have 7 days to figure that out. Okay. The league would give you 7 days to get back under compliance, and then you'd be good to go. So this was a quick shot, guys, or a quick fire with the PowderKeg podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, please drop them, and I will do my best to get back to them by the end of the day or tomorrow morning. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy free agency.